Hi everyone, this is Zoe Alexander from Simply Lovely Energy. I am a Law of Attraction life coach, and I've started a video series recently that I am currently calling LOA Unscripted. Though in this case it's getting a little more semi-scripted because I wrote down some notes about what I want to talk about. But basically the idea for this series is that a lot of times with law of attraction coaching, you sort of see the front end. So people explain how to use the law of attraction. They'll talk about sort of their perfect lives and how they get there. But oftentimes you don't really see the back end of what coaches themselves are working through, and sort of like how a law of attraction life coach would view their worlds, their framework. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to make a series where I talk about a little more what that looks like on a personal level. And recently, as I've been sort of doing a couple of iterations of this video, I have been thinking about how I want to format it. And my current formatting that I think might be kind of fun to do is that I first talk about a positive manifestation that I've experienced in my life. I talk about any negative manifestations or sort of things that I'm currently working through, as well as finally doing some sort of what I call an LOA tidbit, or just sort of an interesting fact or something I've come across and how I relate that in terms of law of attraction. So today I'm going to start with the positive manifestation. If you watched last week's video, you would know that I manifested a trip to Paris. So I am an American, but I currently live in Liège, Belgium, and will be here for the next couple years. And since I'm in Europe with my partner, he and I really wanted to go to Paris. Like, it's, especially for me, it's a place I've wanted to go to since I was maybe 16 years old. But I just have not been able to manifest getting there for one reason or another. For a while it was COVID, then had to get some vaccinations for that, and then my partner's wallet got stolen off of him, which was a stinky manifestation for sure. And it took literally 2 months to get his ID back, and with that mine. But we finally did it, and then after all that, we were finally able to go, and it was really marvelous. Paris is a really fascinating energy, I think, because it has a little bit of a grittiness to it, but it also kind of has this romantic charm at the same time. Like, I think a lot of people kind of capture it well when you think about what Paris is like and you see videos of it. But it was really a wonderful experience. Like, the Eiffel Tower was beautiful. I got a chance to go through the catacombs, which was really fascinating and kind of creepy. The Louvre was incredible. I got to see the Mona Lisa there, and I'm very interested in Egyptian art, so there's a very famous statue there of a scribe that I got to see, which was so cool. I never thought I'd be able to see that in real life. So it was a lovely trip overall, and it was nice to just have something that I've waited so long to happen to manifest. So sometimes your 16-year-old dreams do come true like 10 years later. That's what I learned. As regards for, oh, actually, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about with positive manifestations too. In the past couple of weeks, I've manifested a friend group for myself out here. I've met some really lovely people, and I've gotten to hang out with them a lot, and we just kind of walk around the city, or last night we went to a Greek restaurant because a couple of them are Greek, and it was just a marvelous experience. We got to drink a lot of wine, hang out, and have a good time. So sometimes, I guess the lesson in that is that sometimes things can take a while. Like, I moved to Belgium in January, and it's kind of taken up until now, until I feel like I've really had a solid group of people that I can just go hang out with at just a moment's notice. So don't lose hope. I know this year has been pretty rough for a lot of people, but things do get better. That's kind of the main lesson that I've got, even if sometimes it takes a little longer than we want it to. Um, so in regards to manifestations, I'm working through. The biggest one that I'm really working through right now is that I have this limiting belief that I'm not dedicated enough, that I don't put in the amount of time and energy necessary, that I'm not willing to do the things that I don't want to do in order to manifest what I want. And this is a big one for me that I've tried to work through a lot. Like, I would consider myself a perfectionist in a lot of ways. And I used to be able to, when I was in high school, sort of before I learned about this law of attraction stuff, I was able to just work through it, even if I was miserable, to try to get the results that I wanted. But then over the years, I sort of discovered this, and I realized that you can leverage energy, to be able to get what it is that you want. But that's a very hard space to get into, from being someone who is so fear-based and that I have to do this work that I don't want to do, otherwise I won't get what I want. And so I'm still a little caught in between these two energies personally, and it's something I've been trying to work through by sitting with it, even if I notice I've avoided sitting with it. But I'm trying to sit with it. I'm trying to ask myself questions about what it is that I really want. Like, what do I want to be doing to have my dream business? And when I sit with it and really think about, what do I want to be doing to have a dream business, or, what do I want my sort of average day-to-day or week to look like, I'm doing a lot of those things. But what I'm not doing is giving myself permission to enjoy it. Instead, I just freak out about how I'm not doing enough. And so I'm trying to figure out how to get out of that energy. So I'm probably going to need to sit with it and do some more emotional releases, or work with a coach. I am part of a group coaching with Melody Fletcher, who I mentioned a couple times on my blog, because she's really sort of the person who taught me this stuff in the beginning, and I think her work is really great. But she's who resonates with me. There's a plethora of amazing coaches out there. So if you find someone that really works for you, like, study them, follow them. That would be my recommendation. And so for the last thing, a law of attraction tidbit, fun fact: when I initially started this coaching, my coaching business, which I've had a couple of iterations of, for one of them I called LOA tidbits, because I like the idea of just giving a little fun fact of something that you can do to help manifest your dream life, basically. But my LOA tidbit for today is, I would consider myself in a lot of ways kind of an armchair anthropologist. I will get very interested in aspects of culture and just learn about that, and read about it for a bit to try to kind of get an understanding of that and how people think about it and what it is in context of culture. Like, I find that stuff very fascinating. And recently I read an entire book about Barbie, like the Barbie doll, and sort of the origins of it and what it symbolized, and how it marketed itself throughout the ages. And what was really interesting is that basically Barbie was created in the late 1950s. And Barbie, to a lot of young American girls, is really appealing because she's kind of this independent woman who, she sort of had Ken, but she didn't really need Ken. Like, she was just kind of doing her own thing, doing any kind of dream career that she wanted to do. And she was sort of a powerful symbolism of Western independence, basically. And recently, I don't know how I found this, but online I discovered that Barbie did not do well in Japan, and instead they had sort of their own version of the Barbie doll, which is called Licca-chan. And what's interesting about Licca-chan is that instead of being an adult, Licca-chan is an 11-year-old girl, and the style of the doll is that she's very cutesy and very sweet. And she sold like hotcakes in Japan. She's very popular. And the reasoning behind that is because after World War II, Japan started getting into this more kawaii culture, cuteness culture. And so Barbie's representation of personal independence didn't really resonate with the Japanese. But this doll that was sort of about being cute and sweet and has an emphasis on family, like there's a doll of her mom and her dad and her grandma and her siblings, right? That represented more of the Japanese mindset of unity and sort of a youthful perspective. And the reason I found this really fascinating is that girls are pretty young when they start playing with dolls. So even at a young age, you start to pick up some of those cultural identities and perspectives. And it really made me think about the question of thinking about any sort of situation that I'm struggling through or trying to come up with answers with. How would I view the answer to the situation if I was from a different culture that had a different mindset? And I think that's a really great question to ask yourself in general, not only because it just expands your thinking, but then it allows you to sort of question what values you have for yourself and how you would like to answer those questions. Like sort of thinking about Barbie represents this independence, I can do it by myself, and Licca-chan represents this community, like sort of cultural harmony with others over anything else. You know, like how would I approach situations from those different mindsets? And I think it's just a fun question. It's fun to think about what I would be like if I grew up in a different culture. So if you have something that you're trying to find the right answer for, maybe think about different cultures and how they would maybe answer that question and see if you can come up with an answer for yourself. So that's it for today's video. I hope you all enjoy this. This is pretty fun for me to do, so I think I'll keep going with it for a while. And with that, I hope you all have a fabulous day. If you're looking for a life coach and would like any assistance in working through your limiting beliefs, you can always check me out at Simply Lovely Energy. I'll leave the link below. And with that, I hope you all have a great day and happy manifesting.